Welcome back, everybody, to another wonderful episode of Elliot's Overtime Escape with your host, Elliot Maxwell. Elliot, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Seth. How are you doing on this Tuesday?
Good. It's been a fast week. There's a lot going on in sports. What do you say we get into it?
Let's get this show on the track to the success and the first topic of today.
On the wheel.
The wheel of
we're going to start
Week 6 recap.
with a Week 6 recap. Amazing. All right, let's take a look at the Week 6 schedule really quick. Any games of note here that you see, Elliot? I think I have a few that I want to point out. I think I have a couple to talk about, so let me get us started with the Bills at the Falcons. Huge win for the Falcons there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's why, yeah. Sometimes it's always crazy to have those games not go the way that we originally thought in our predictions for that we predicted last week. I just think Monday Night Football didn't go the way that we originally thought.
Yeah, definitely not how we thought it would go. I wanted to bring up a couple stats really quick. First of all, Bijan Robinson, 170 yards carrying and another 68 through the air. A huge day for Bijan. A touchdown as well. Another player with a really good game was Drake London, posting 10 receptions for 158 yards and a touchdown as well. In a game where the Falcons, honestly, they didn't just scrape by, they genuinely looked dominant through pretty much all 4 quarters of that game. They really bullied Josh Allen, bullied the Bills. I'm really interested. I've been saying for a few weeks that I think the Bills are on kind of fraud watch, at the very least since they lost to the Patriots. But now it's really okay, how good are the Bills? How good are some of these teams that we thought were good?
Yeah. It's just a bump in the road for the Bills to get over. They're still a really good team.
Yeah, I definitely think they're still really good, but I just think, it brings up some big questions about that Bills defense. And yeah, just a big upset, huge win for the Falcons to get, especially coming off their bye. They just looked like a really good team, and we don't see that out of the Falcons a lot. All right, the next game that I thought was really notable was the Bears at the Commanders in Washington in a rainy Monday Night Football. Yeah, Elliot, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I just the original prediction was Commanders all the way, but it was on the narrow score line for the Bears to eke out a win on a narrow 25 points versus Commanders at 24.
I think this was a huge spiritual win for the Bears. They got a really strong start to last season, and then they lost to the Commanders from a Hail Mary last year. So going back into Washington and beating them off of a last-second Jake Moody field goal was a really big spiritual win for this team, and I'm kind of excited to see what the Bears do. I think they're a pretty good team. I think they're the best team that's losing their division at the moment. Any games you want to point out at all?
No.
All right, I think my last one, it's the elephant in the room, needs to be talked about. Eagles at Giants. I know it happened all the way back on Thursday, so it's barely even in our memory anymore. But Elliot, what do you think of this one?
it's very lopsided. Having the Giants, who's starter rookie quarterback, against the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, it just means that sometimes you have these wins and sometimes you have these losses that are demoralizing, and the Eagles are probably not a great point this season to they could make a run to the Super Bowl playoffs or to the playoffs, but it with 2 losses in a row for the Eagles at home, or Eagles 1 at home and then 1 away at MetLife, that just gets demoralizing. It's bad for a team to come to away to and losing by 34 points on when you could have won that game.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are absolutely still a playoff team. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have them as my favorites to go to the Super Bowl right now. But yeah, 2 losses in a row for them is not a good look, especially to the Broncos and Giants. It's not like they were playing maybe like the Lions or the Buccaneers, any of those teams that I think we perceive as really, really good this year. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of what happens to the Eagles through the rest of the season. All right.
Yeah, now it's the second topic of the day.
Yep, spinning that wheel, and it looks like it is going to be
Walt's World.
Yep, a little Walt's World. We're getting it out of here early today. All right, Elliot, I understand you have some questions for me again.
Yep, it's on the back of
our weirdly long sheets. I don't know
why. I don't know why you printed.
I don't know. They just. I went to the Stilt Library, and I went to print them off, and I printed something else out that printed on normal size paper, but we got the giant paper today, in honor of the Giants' huge win over the Eagles.
What's the highest grossing Disney animated film of all time from 2019? And it's
not, is it not Pixar then? If it's
no.
Disney? So not Pixar.
Highest grossing, it's
what did Disney release that's animated? Not in 2019. What came out in 2019? Can I guess Zootopia?
No, you're it's a sequel to Frozen.
Wow, Frozen 2? It's the highest grossing Disney animated film of all time. Wow, I would not expect that. That was kind of shocking.
What is the slogan for Monsters, Inc.? This is super easy. So if you could get this in your sleep if you.
I know it starts with we scare 'em.
We scare 'em.
Oh, what's the second half though? Because I know that's the first half. Is we scare 'em. Shoot. I don't think I know the second half of it.
We scare because we care.
Yeah. Forgot that one.
Who was the voice actor for Maui in Moana?
That's The Rock, right?
Yes.
Yay. That's a point. I'll take it.
In Toy Story, what's the name of the boy who owns the toys?
That one is Andy.
So that's a 2 point. You got another point.
Yep, I'm in 2 points at the moment, which is pretty good for me.
Which musical does Wally love?
Which musical does Wally love? Oh.
Came out in late 60s.
I know, it's really old. I kind of just have to go on my knowledge of Wally, not on my knowledge of the actual musical. Is it It's a Wonderful Life?
No.
I don't know.
Hello, Dolly.
Hello, Dolly. I did not know the name of it.
You can get this next one in a heartbeat. What country is Belle from in Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, did we talk about this the other day? I feel like we talked about this the other day. Or I heard something about it the other day. It feels like it should be France. I feel like we talked about this.
You just outright said the answer.
Okay, it is France? Okay.
Yes.
It was between France and Switzerland for some reason. I feel like it's in a country with the Alps. Cool. Yeah, France.
In The Princess and the Frog, what is the name of the restaurant Princess Tiana opens?
Can I guess Senor Frogs?
No.
Okay, then I'm not gonna get it then. I do not remember. I know, isn't it something
Tiana's
like French?
Palace.
Oh, okay, it's just called Tiana's Palace. Okay.
What Disney movie features two sinister Siamese cats named Sad and Am?
Is that 100 Dalmatians?
No.
What? Swear that's the one with Siamese cats.
It came out before 101 Dalmatians. It was like in the middle of the 50s.
And you have to say the name.
Yeah, I don't know this one.
Land Tramp
Oh.
from 55.
Okay.
Okay. Who was the first animated Disney character to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Can I guess Mickey Mouse?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's like 3 points.
4 points. I also
4
got
points.
country that Belle's from. So I'm at 4. I could shoot 50% today.
In Peter Pan, what did Peter leave behind in Wendy's bedroom?
Can I guess a feather from his cap?
No.
Dang it.
His shadow.
Yeah. Never seen that movie.
Yeah, well, that's then next homework after watching Fox and the Hound is Peter Pan.
After Fox and Hound, after E.T.
E.T. is Peter Pan from 53 for you. That's like, you've got a really long homework list.
I know, I do have a really long list of movies I've never watched, and unfortunately I probably won't be able to watch any of this next week.
Yeah, and then we'll have to figure out episode 9 filming.
Uh-huh.
Because next week, you're on,
Alright. Our next topic for the day is Coach of the Week. Alright, let's get right into it. Elliot, who did you pick for this?
Mike Vrabel of the New England Patriots. The game over. I think Mike Vrabel did a great job coaching the New England Patriots over New Orleans Saints. And that's who I got for Coach of the Week for me this week.
Alright. Was it just like his play calling, his overall concept? What exactly was it about the game?
His overall play style.
Nice, yeah.
And the coaching, and the coach, and how he coached his team to a absolute win over New Orleans Saints.
I did a little portrait of him. What do you think of it?
Yes.
It's pretty accurate, right?
Yes.
You guys don't get to see. It's special. Alright, yeah, I think that's a pretty good pick. I had him last week. I think he's doing a really good job coaching that team. And it's starting to look like a really strong team. I had Mike McDonald of the Seahawks. They lost last week to the Bucks. So going into Jacksonville against what most people thought was a really, really strong team, the coaching looked really good for the Seahawks, and I really think it's what set them apart to win that game. That was a very losable game for them.
And now,
Let's get into our next topic, which is going to be the player
of the week.
of the week. All right, Elliot, I'll dive right into this one. I have Rico Dowdle. Probably the best revenge game I've seen in a very long time. He put up like 208 yards last week against the Dolphins as a backup running back going in for Chuba Hubbard. And in the press conferences throughout the week, he said, the Cowboys better buckle up because they cut him earlier this year from their roster. And he said, they have to buckle up. I'm about to, have a game against them. And he absolutely backed that up. He had, I believe, like 170 yards rushing and another like 60 or 70 through the air to put up like 100 or 230 yards up against his old team, and he called his shot too. He said, I'm going to run all over the Cowboys. And he went out there and he did it. And he was a huge reason that they won that game. He's definitely my number one pick for player of the week this week. Who'd you go with?
I went with Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of Pittsburgh, because sometimes you always need a win, and Pittsburgh won their game.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has looked a lot better this season. He's been throwing some good passes. He, looked like a real quarterback out there. He got some really good passes into small windows for DK Metcalf. I agree. He's definitely in contention for player of the week. I think my second pick, just to shout it out really quick, was Baker Mayfield, who has been on an absolutely insane run. I think he deserves MVP this year. As of right now, he's been playing incredibly well.
Yeah, now we'll spin the wheel for another topic.
All right. It looks like we are going to be going over by a hair our week 7 predictions. So Elliot, I don't know if you've looked yet, but there was a rather big swing in our prediction scores this last week. Last week I scored 11 correct guesses, and you got 4, meaning that our scores advanced to Elliot 30 and Seth 35. I really, really needed that week. I'm really happy I chose some big underdogs to take wins that ended up taking wins. I'm pretty stoked with how I did. What do you think about that?
Yeah, at least, but hopefully this week I'm back in the lead.
All right, we'll see. All right, so our first matchup for week 7, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers going into Cincinnati for a Thursday night football game. Elliot, who do you pick to win this one?
Steelers.
All right, yes, we did agree on this one. I also have the Steelers winning this one. I think they just look like a better team right now. I think there's like a slim chance that, Joe Flacco comes into his second week with the Bengals and tosses around the rock a lot and gets a win. But I just don't see it likely with how bad the Bengals defense is. So I also picked the Steelers there.
Rams and Jags.
Yep, our next game is the Los Angeles Rams traveling all the way down to Jacksonville to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. Elliot, who do you have to win this one?
Rams.
I also have the LA Rams for this one. Tell me a little bit about why you picked the Rams over the Jags.
Because the Rams won this past week, or won in week 6, so I had to it was really hard to pick the home team or the away team. for me. It was like really hard.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough pick. I like the Rams to win this. I think the Jaguars are good, but I think the Rams are a more complete team. Despite having, I think, a loss or two more, I think they're at 3-3 and the Jags are at, no, they're both 4-2 teams. So that makes me even more confident. I think the Rams have a better squad. I see them winning this game. Which brings us onto the Philadelphia Eagles going into US Bank Stadium up in Minnesota. Elliot, who do you have picked for this one?
I went the Vikings. The Eagles look like they're a shadow of the Super Bowl winning self, and the Vikings are probably going to be. Our Vikings are at home, and the Eagles are going on the road to face the Vikings, which is always tough for the Eagles to like be away from their fan base, away from home.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I also have the Vikings. It may just be wishful thinking. This was a really tough one to call for me because I think it's either going to be a Vikings win and really people are like, okay, are the Eagles bad this year? Or it's going to be a convincing Eagles win and, it's kind of going to be like a get-right game for the Eagles. And I was really, really on the fence. Ultimately, kind of what decided it for me, though, is that the Vikings are, that's my team. I have to back them up. I'm going to vote for them whenever it's reasonable. I have the Vikings winning this one. All right, what's our next matchup?
Patriots at Titans.
Yeah.
I went Patriots because, like I said, in the coach, his team just like looks like on the same level as like Indianapolis in terms of like how they're winning games.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're coached really well. They're looking incredibly strong. Drake May is having a crazy good season as a sophomore. They are, they just moved up to 4-2, and with the Bills losing 2 in a row, the Patriots are actually up top on the AFC East right now, and I think that's really huge.
Because the Bills lost.
Yeah, yep, Bills lost. I think, if this team maybe goes for like a wide receiver from a team who really needs to get rid of one to rebuild, like maybe the Dolphins before the trade deadline, maybe like a Jalen Waddle, something like that. I could see this team really being a contender to win the AFC East. So for that reason, I also picked New England winning this.
Panthers at Jets.
Yeah, Carolina Panthers going up to New York to face the Jets. Who do you have winning this one?
Carolina Panthers.
I also have the Panthers. They've looked like a pretty decent football team. I mean, they obviously haven't looked good, but they've looked, I think the best they've looked in years. The New York Jets look like a historically bad team this year. Panthers all the way. What are your thoughts on it?
I think Panthers could upset even the Eagles in terms of division.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't think.
They could chase the Bucks if they want to.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be chasing the Bucks. I think the Bucks probably have that division relatively locked down. I'd say maybe the Falcons are the best contender to win that division, but
Panthers are probably still in the conversation of like.
Yeah, I'd say it's all still to play for. I mean, we're not even a third of the way through the season yet, so something big could swing. I definitely think the Bucks are a stronger team at the moment, though. But it's good to see the Panthers doing a little better. All right.
Dolphins, Browns.
Wow, yeah, this one's like the tank bowl of the week. This is going to be a hard game to watch, is my personal prediction. I'm going with my heart a little bit on this one as well, like I did on the Vikings game, because the odds are probably in the Dolphins' favor. in all reality, but I did pick the Browns here. I think their defense looks really good, and I think as Dylan Gabriel gets more and more time, I think he's going to look better and better. So I actually have the Browns winning this in what I assume is at least a little bit of an upset.
My Dolphins.
All right.
Because they're at home. They're at home.
They're actually away in Cleveland.
Away at Cleveland, but still, Dolphins. I always like the underdogs to like win.
Yeah.
Some point this season.
Yeah. Both of these teams, big underdogs.
Saints at Bears.
There. Saints at Bears. Who do you have selected for this one?
Giving you a hint on my hat, New Orleans all the way.
Wow.
New Orleans all the way.
So you're predicting New Orleans to
Upset the Bears.
upset the Bears at Soldier Field. How do you think that's going to happen? Talk me through it a little bit.
New Orleans is coming off a big, they need a win, and they need another win in there to keep their season alive, but we all, I think the Bears are like a great team, but sometimes you have those teams that come out of the, can blow some people away, and especially because New Orleans needs another win after losing to the Giants.
Yeah.
They just New Orleans just needs another win.
Yeah, you're thinking they're going to go into Soldier Field
And
hungry and get an upset. I did go Bears on this one. I do think the Bears, I think, to me, look like actually a pretty competent team. They just beat the Commanders down in Washington. Caleb Williams is honestly playing a lot better. There was still a lot of mistakes in that game against the Commanders.
who knows what could happen on Sunday at 11 our time, which would be 12 in Chicago.
Yeah, who knows what'll go down. I think, the Bears have looked good. I think that Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams connection is only going to get stronger, and I'm excited to see what happens with that match. All right, up next we have the Raiders going into Arrowhead. Elliot, what do you think about this one? Your two bitter rivals are playing each other.
I'm taking Kansas City Chiefs over the Las Vegas Raiders because the Chiefs are coming off the win over Detroit, but still they got the pep in their step for the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs, honestly, we were talking about it earlier in the week. I think the Chiefs are absolutely still a playoff contender, very possibly a deep playoff run contender. They're getting Rashee Rice back as well. Now that he's back from suspension, I really think the Chiefs are a much better team than they're given credit. As much as I wish they were as bad as people want them to be, I do think that team is still really scary.
Colts and Chargers. I went to Colts because they look like an even more fierce team than even the Chargers look on paper.
All right. Yeah, the Colts. The Colts are definitely a scary team right now. They're really, really, really good. Daniel Jones is leading that team in a really cool way. I do think that the Colts are going to win this as well, but this one's a tough one to call. I think if the Chargers were at full health, I think they would have a really good shot of winning this because I think at full health they're one of the best teams in the league. But I do think that, that Colts team is just looking a little stronger at the moment. All right.
Giants at Broncos.
Yeah, the New York Giants coming into Denver. I have the Giants on this one by 30 points.
I've got Denver because Denver's coming off a win.
Yeah.
They literally looked like it was really like it was bad on offense, but like not terribly. But the defense ruled the Jets and probably gonna rule the Giants too.
Yeah, I do have the Broncos. Just a little joke there to try to get a little under your skin. I do think the Giants could win this. I think this will be a big question mark for Jackson Dart, but I mean, the two teams he's won against right now, the Chargers and the Eagles, are both really good teams. They lost to the Saints, but that was like a bit of an anomaly. I think that the Giants could come into Mile High and win. I just think it's really unlikely, so I picked Denver on that one. But let it be known, I think there's a chance.
Yeah, but like we'll see on Sunday. I'm gonna be watching the game on Sunday, the Giants Broncos.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna literally come back on whatever day we get episode 9 next week.
Yeah. No, I do think the Broncos are going to win, but I think, I wouldn't be insanely shocked to see a Giants win out of that either. All right. Up next, we have the Packers going down to Arizona to face the Cardinals.
I've got Packers taking on the win.
Okay, tell me a little bit about it.
Because I just think that Green Bay is looking a great team and it's gonna be great for my fantasy team to like have a win, especially because I have one of the Green Bay running backs on my team on my fantasy league team.
And Elliot, I just want to make it known, we are, for those of you who don't know, we are in a fantasy league together. It's Elliot's fantasy league, and we face each other this week. I think this is the matchup of the year. I have the single highest score in the entire league. I want to make it known. I'm not winning the league, but I have the highest total points for the season. The last 2 weeks, I've gone 160 and 150 points. No, 170, sorry, and 160 points respectively. My team is firing on all cylinders at the moment. However, I'm going to be out of cell reception from Wednesday to Sunday. So I'm going to have no team management. But yeah, I'm on the fence about if I want Josh Jacobs to do well, because in my other league with my family, I have Josh Jacobs. So I want him to do well because I want him to do well for me. But you have him playing, so that'll be difficult. But yeah, I agree. I also have the Packers winning this. I think they look like a stronger team, and the Cardinals feel too unpredictable to put a bet on in any sort of way. It feels like the Cardinals could win, but you just really never know. I think the Packers are more consistent, and the Packers really need a win. Coming off their bye, after going 1-1-1 in the last 3 games, the Packers really, really need a win here to kind of re-solidify that they're a good, solid Super Bowl contender. I think they've kind of fallen off a lot of people's radars.
Commanders at Cowboys. I've got Commanders but who knows, it could be a toss-up for either team. It could be a toss-up.
Yeah, it could be. I have the Commanders here. I think, they lost to the Bears last week, but the Cowboys also lost to the Bears. I think that the Commanders look like a better team right now, even with kind of a few question marks. I just think they're better. I think the Cowboys defense is just too bad to really make anything happen.
I've got the Commanders, but it could go either way. It's a later game.
Yep.
For East Coast
Yeah, that one's on the main slate for Sunday. And speaking of main slates, Sunday night, we have Falcons going over to Levi Stadium for a 5:20 p.m. local time game, 6:20 here in Mountain Time. Who do you have winning this one?
49ers.
Okay, tell me a little bit about it.
49ers just need a win. I need another win to get their to keep their season on the right foot instead of how many times that they've lost.
Yeah, they do need another win here. the Falcons, I could kind of see going on a little streak here, some confidence after beating the Bills, who going into the season were the Super Bowl favorites. The Falcons looked really good in that game. The 49ers are still just so injured that I feel like a collapse is kind of imminent. In their last game that they just played and lost, they lost their, second best defensive player, and they lost their first last week or 2 weeks ago. Their training and conditioning coach needs to be fired. I don't know how everybody on that team just explodes and shatters every year. It's like they sold the whole team's health to keep Christian McCaffrey healthy, because he seems like the only consistent piece for San Francisco right now. So for that reason, I have the Falcons coming in and winning. All right.
Bucks at Lions.
Yep, that brings us into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up to Detroit to face the Lions. Rawr. Who do you have winning this one?
Lions.
All right. Tell me a little bit about that.
Lions just need a win. I need another win after losing to the Chiefs by 30 points.
That's true. They sure do. I think they are also going to be hungry for a win here. The same way a lot of teams are going to be that kind of loss. However, Brian Branch will be out. He got suspended for a game without pay for his fight at the end of the Kansas City game. But outside of that, I also just think the Buccaneers look really good. Mike Evans is slated to return this week. So while Ibuka is going to be out, and I believe Chris Godwin will also still be out, you're going to get Mike Evans back, and I think it's just so hard to write off Baker Mayfield right now. I think he's having an MVP season, and I think he can carry that team through a lot, and for that reason, I have the Buccaneers winning this one.
Last game on the Texans at Seahawks.
Yep, who do you have winning this?
I've got the Seahawks coming off a win over Jacksonville.
Yeah, I agree. I also have the Seahawks winning here. I still think the Seahawks are one of the most complete teams in the league. Jackson Smith-Njigba is playing, I think he's like the wide receiver 2 in the league right now. Out of all of them, he's playing insane. Who else? Cooper Kupp finally got a touchdown. He's looking like a viable option. Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III are still looking insane. Sam Darnold's having another really great season. And that defense has looked better and better throughout the weeks. I think, the Seahawks take this. I think that offense is just a little too good for the Texans to save, kind of bail out their offense. So I have the Seahawks winning this one. And I think that's about it for our Week 7 predictions.
Yep. Now we go on to the next topic, which is going to be
The
10-minute drill, looks like it.
10-minute drill. All right, Elliot. Let's take a look at some of these headlines. All right. What do we have going up first today?
Dodgers barely preserve Blake Snell's win in NLCS opener.
Yep. Yeah, I don't follow baseball a ton, but I saw this one and I felt like it needed to be on there. I've seen a clip of a really crazy play from this game going on where there was a ball that was almost a home run. The Brewers midfielder, jumps up, grabs it above the wall, but he drops it, but then he catches it again before it hits the ground, and then he throws it all the way to home plate where they get, a second out, and I just thought that was a crazy, crazy double play to happen. But yeah, Dodgers take a 1-0 lead in the National League championship. So I think that's pretty interesting. What do you think of that, Elliot?
Yeah, I never followed baseball, but it just looks crazy that the Dodgers did get the win.
Yeah, Dodgers are looking really good right now. Shohei Ohtani isn't looking as good as he has, but they're eking out wins, and that's what matters. The other storyline in the MLB that I really quickly want to point out, and this one's because this is, in my top 3 teams, shout out the Mariners for squeaking out like a 12th inning win over the Tigers like a week ago to move on to the American League Championship, where they are currently up 2-0 on the Blue Jays. It's just really cool to see. I mean, the Mariners have really never been good, and I just think it's really awesome that they're doing well right now, seeing as they haven't in a really, really long time.
And then now we've got, next up is last second reversal, Bears flip 24 script, Edge Commanders.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit, but last year the Commanders won a Hail Mary, craziest game, and then the Bears went on to have a horrible streak for a while right after that happened. And like I said, I think that's a big spiritual win for the Bears to come back, where kind of their whole season started falling apart last year, and win in the last second, really flipping the script. Also, Jake Moody, the kicker who was cut from the 49ers for missing too many kicks, came in and had a crazy game. He got called up last second. He did really, really well. I think that's a big confidence boost for him as well.
And then Japan fight back to her first ever win over Brazil.
Yeah, Japan won it all after the kind of break at half with a goal in the 52nd, 62nd, and 71st minute. I thought this was a really interesting one. That's their first ever win over Brazil, which I just think is crazy. I know it's just, friendlies. It's not like it's the real World Cup or anything, but I still think that's a huge, win for them to take.
And then next up on the Bears wide receiver DJ Moore hospitalized after win versus Commanders.
Yeah, so we don't know too much about the nature of this injury yet, but the Bears announced that it was preliminary, so it was just to make sure he was all right, but he was hospitalized overnight, and it's precautionary, but they've not released why he was sent to the hospital. What do you think about that, Elliot?
Yeah, I would feel bad if you have a teammate going to the hospital or having to be hospitalized after winning over the Commanders.
Yeah, seems like it looks like it was a groin injury. Hopefully he will be all right, but that's pretty big news for the Bears.
Time fired Brian Callahan after 1-5 start. Mike McCoy interim.
Yeah, it was bound to happen eventually, but Brian Callahan is officially the first coach to go in the 2025 NFL season.
But also the father of Brian Callahan was also got fired after his son.
I know that.
Let go after his son.
Yeah, Brian Callahan's dad was also on that staff. I believe he still is.
Offensive coordinator. He was.
The O-line coach, Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan's dad also was fired, which I think is crazy. Yeah, that's real news.
Yeah. And then interim head coach Mike McCoy confirmed that Bill Callahan is out. So,
Yeah, Bill Callahan's out,
so they've So the Titans have lost an offensive coordinator and their head coach. So
Yeah.
they would need to find some people, or find
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, no, the O-line coach and head coach down there getting moved on from, I think that's a good thing if you're Cam Ward or if you're a Titans fan, because at least it gives you a chance. Brian Callahan is just, I don't think he's a good cutout for a head coach. So I'm
But
excited to see.
defensive coach, you could possibly see him.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they can do with a new coach in there, because I think with Brian Callahan, they were something ridiculous. They had like the 31st offense in the league and the 29th defense, like close to worst in both metrics, which you just never want to see.
Eagles pass rusher Zadarius Smith announces retirement.
Yeah, Zadarius Smith, the Eagles lost to the Giants, and Zadarius Smith, said, I'm out of here, I'm done, which is really fair.
Rams wide receiver Puka Nakua ankle could miss London game.
This is kind of a little bit good news for you. Puka Nakua is my lead wide receiver in our fantasy league. So big bummer that he's out. Big bummer in general that he's out. He's been having a record-breaking season, so it's really sad to see him go down in their game against the Ravens. Hopefully he will make a quick recovery and be healthy soon.
Brian Branch suspended after post-game fight with Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this. This is actually a pretty big story. On the last play of the game, Juju Smith-Schuster provided, a pretty bad block to the back on Brian Branch. Pretty much just shoved him down from behind when he couldn't see at all. To me, it didn't even look like a block. I mean, he just shoved the guy over as hard as he could. I think pretty bad sportsmanship. I think it should have been called as a block in the back. Wouldn't have mattered for the result of the game. But anyways, Brian Branch was upset about the missed flag. And then after, the game, Juju Smith-Schuster kept talking. So, yeah, Brian Branch went over there and he stood on business, punched him right in the face. And, yeah, now he's suspended for a game.
Chiefs Patrick Mahomes to have full complement of wide receivers with Rashee Rice's return from suspension.
Yeah, this is what I was saying, and this is why I think that the Chiefs are really scary right now, is because they are so healthy. That is such a healthy team right now. With Rashee Rice returning, it's pretty scary. I think the Chiefs are going to go on a pretty big hot streak right now. So it's a shame the Broncos didn't get to play them while they were weak.
Yeah, but still, it's still early in the season. I think the Chiefs are probably gonna not win over the Broncos because we play them in mid-November.
Yeah.
And by the time November hits, I think Sean Payne's going to be like win all the games up until the game against the first game against the Chiefs at Mile High Stadium.
Wow, all the games until they play the Chiefs, you say? That'd be a big run. That'd be a historic run. That'd be one.
We would be like 11 or 12
two,
wins by the time the Chiefs.
3, 4, 5. Nope, 4. So you have them going on a 4-game win streak until they meet the Chiefs. Yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah, because we all know that the Broncos could be our defense
It's a really
wins
good
championships.
Yep, that pass rush is really, really good. In the schedule, the Broncos have a pretty soft schedule this year as well. Not a lot of opponents outside of the division that are looking really strong this year. So, yeah, I think they absolutely could, pull that off.
Yeah, because we've got Giants and then Cowboys, and then the first game against the Raiders.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy schedule actually.
We could dunk the Raiders
I
for.
think the Texans could cause a problem, maybe the Giants and maybe the Cowboys. I think the Raiders are going to be pretty easy to handle.
Yeah, but we can go toe to toe with anybody and win.
Oh, totally, yeah.
And then second to the last topic, Josh Allen. Bills have a lot of stuff to clean up after back-to-back losses.
Yeah, I think we haven't seen the Bills play like to their full potential yet, for sure. And I'll be interested to see what it looks like if they really are playing to their full potential.
Bijan Robinson has career day, putting up 238 yards from scrimmage.
Yeah, speaking, about the same game, the Bills versus the Falcons, Bijan Robinson had a crazy day. It's kind of, I think he's in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year this year. He's playing incredibly well. He's not missing a beat, and I think that's helping Atlanta a ton.
Yeah. And now we are going back for what seems to be, we've got 3 topics left before we close out this episode.
We have 3 more topics, and they are all awards of the week.
Looks like flop of the week.
Flop of the week is going to be first. Wah, wah.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, I have the Philadelphia Eagles losing to the New York Giants. Maybe, we'll look back in 3 weeks and it won't be a flop if the Giants go on a run and play really well. But for the moment being, I think that's definitely the flop of the week. They just look bad. There's no other way to put it. They looked bad against the Giants, and I think that's a big bummer if you're an Eagles fan, for sure. All right, Elliot, who did you pick?
I have to go with the Baltimore Ravens. They looked like a shell of themselves.
Yeah.
Before, when they don't have Lamar Jackson, it's like you're just a shadow, just limping along until week 8.
Yeah, I think they really, really need Lamar Jackson back as fast as possible, because they're really not a very good team without him. I think it shows how incredibly important he is to that team, and kind of why he's gotten a lot of the accolades that he's got. All right, and that brings us on to the
another new topic that we had in last week's episode.
Yeah, the defense of the week. I actually chose. I'm shocked you didn't choose this team. I chose the Denver Broncos. They put up, I think, 9 sacks on Justin Fields. He had -10 pass yards through the day. Their defense just looked insanely good in that game against the Jets.
I went New England Patriots for the defense for me.
Tell me a little bit about that.
They just went over New Orleans and they probably sacked the Spence. They probably cooked the New Orleans Saints quarterback.
Yeah, they sacked Spencer Rattler twice. They made the team fumble once. They played a solid game. All right, and that brings us on to
our final of today's episode, upset of the week.
And it's nice, Elliot. We get to end on a little agreement here today. What do we both have?
The Falcons beating Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. There was a lot of good choices for upset for this week. I think Bears beating Commanders, the Eagles getting beat by the Giants. I think there was certainly some upsets this week, but I think the most meaningful, or one of the most meaningful and the most thorough, was the Falcons beating the Bills.
So we agreed on one on the last.
On our last one, isn't that poetic?
Yes.
All right.
So, hopefully, now it's time to close it out this week's episode. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for listening and watching, and tune in for episode 9 whenever it comes out on Sunday, on one of the days.
Yep. Sometime next week.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, you want to sign it out?
Now it's your host, Elliot Maxwell, signing off episode 8 of Elliot's Overtime Escape.